Good morning, I'm Lynn, and welcome to another day at Ewetopia Farms. Right now I'm in with the Dorset rams, and I guess from my videos, people still aren't understanding what a flock sire is, what a terminal breed is, and so I thought today I will try to clarify that again so that people understand. I know it can be confusing, especially if you're watching other videos and they're using the same terms and maybe not in the same way that I am. So that's what I'm going to try to do today as I go through chores. So right now I'm in the Dorset ram pen, and Dorsets in Canada and the United States as a breed are classified as a dual purpose breed, meaning that they're kind of partly maternal and partly terminal, but not 100% either way. Whereas in Australia and New Zealand nowadays, a ram like Sheriff, where is Sheriff in here? Buddy, where'd you go? You're not Sheriff. Oh, there he is. Hi, Cracker. How you doing? Don't get up, okay? Sheriff here is New Zealand bloodlines. He's considered a terminal breed in that country. And if you look at him, he is very deep from his shoulders to his chest and all the way along. He has a much larger muscling on his back legs, and he is just a much more muscular ram overall than, say, Ferdinand over here. See, Ferdinand's a little more slender. He's still a muscular ram. That's why he's dual purpose. But actually, that's Gaston. Same thing. But just a little less muscling there. You can see as he goes over towards Gaston there, and Ferdinand's beside. Ferdinand and Gaston are considered to be polled Dorset with an ED, which is the maternal terminal combination, whereas Sheriff and Hamish are considered Poll Dorsets. Sounds the same, but it's spelt differently. It's P-O-L-L. And those are considered terminal breeds. In Canada, and I think in most countries, whether it's polled ED or poll without the ED, a Dorset is a Dorset. Even horned, you can breed horns in here, and they consider it all the same. But if he grows horns, they call it a horned Dorset. So the Dorsets are a lot more confusing as far as that goes. So you may ask, what's with all the different types of Dorsets? How does Australia and New Zealand have terminal Dorsets, and North America have more maternal Dorsets? And hey, what's with the horned Dorset? Well, that's where man comes into play. So originally, all Dorsets were horned Dorsets. But as humans began to farm animals, horned animals became very unpopular. They became unpopular with cows, they became unpopular with sheep, with goats, for the reason that horns are much harder to deal with. So, for instance, on a feeder like that, the chances of a horned sheep getting stuck with its horns in the feeders is extremely high. Likewise, for gates, getting its horn stuck in there, extremely high. Likewise with each other. Horned animals, and I had Shetlands, the rams had horns, when they were rubbing together or fighting or whatever, inevitably their horns got stuck together, the two animals. So that was a real inconvenience for the farmer, because a lot of those animals that get trapped by the horns would rip their horn off, and the bleeding would be astronomical. Some could die. So it was a real pain in the neck factor. And then there was the other problem with horned animals, and that's that they are much more aggressive with each other, especially if there is a polled one in the group. And polled means that the animal does not have horns naturally. It's not because they've had their horns burned off, but they naturally don't produce horns. That's called a poll gene. They don't have horns. So a horned animal in with a polled animal is probably 99% of the time going to boss the polled one around, because they know when they've got horns. Likewise, when you're dealing with rams, you see how friendly our rams are. And when I had Shetlands, my horned Shetlands were just as friendly as these polled guys are. However, if you get one that's a little more rambunctious, the consequences for the farmer are much worse. You can be seriously hurt by any ram, but way more so than with a sheep or any animal that has horns. So for all those reasons, farmers decided to breed animals to try get the poll to come out. So over time, they were able to breed animals together so that they became polled, and those animals today are way more popular than the horned variety for the reasons that I stated. As for why some are more maternal and some are more terminal, more muscular, has to do with where they are located in the world. So when the colonies started to get developed, sheep from the horned Dorsets would go to the new country, be it Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the United States. And when they got there, people again used genetics and breeding to start kind of manipulating the breedings so that they would produce more of an animal that was suitable for the new countries or for what the new mentality was in those countries, to make the sheep more desirable for what they were doing in those countries. So in Australia and New Zealand, if you Google it, they don't even know what the Dorsets were bred with to become terminal or more muscular. But they do admit that they did tamper with the original Dorset to produce the new version of Dorset. Likewise, in the United States and Canada, we were, I guess, wanting more lambs and maybe milkier mothers. And that's where the maternal side of things come in, because a maternal sheep is supposed to be a better mother, have more lambs, have more milk, more mothering abilities, and that's why they call it maternal, whereas a terminal breed is focused solely on meat qualities and growth. So now I'm in our keeper lamb pen. So we've got a combination of our Dorsets, which as we speak are turning more into a terminal breed Dorset than a maternal breed, because we are introducing those Australian and New Zealand bloodlines heavily into our Dorset flock now. The reason we're doing that is because we have a personal preference for powerful, muscular sheep. We are not interested in having triplets, quads, quints. In fact, those are things that we try to avoid. What we are searching for is heavy sheep that can grow quickly and get to market quickly. It's the look of them is what we prefer too. We like that heavy, powerful, high capacity look. It's a personal preference. If you look at maternal breeds, they tend to be finer boned, less muscular, and they should have more lambs. Always when I want to show a ram, the other ones that I don't want to show come walk in the way. So a Suffolk has always been considered a terminal breed. A terminal breed is basically a sheep that's a meat sheep. In other words, it has high muscling on it, and it is a fast grower. So if you were a commercial breeder and bought a terminal breed ram like a Suffolk and put it on your maternal ewes, those lambs that she produced should be carrying more meat and therefore be heavier, which means that they can also go to the market quicker. So, in general, that's why they call it a terminal breed, because you've put that muscular breed of ram, like a Suffolk, onto your commercial maternal ewes who are producing lots of lambs, but because they're a maternal breed, they're not putting that weight on, and the growth rates are slow. So they get a ram that grows quickly and has that muscling, because when you go to market with your lambs, you are not paid by how many you bring in, you're paid by how much they weigh. So if you come in with lots of heavy lambs, you're going to make more money than if you only bring in maternal cross ewes, because yes, she'll have a lot of lambs, but her lambs won't be as heavy as the terminal lambs. So terminal means end of the line in that instance. All those heavy lambs, you've reached your goal and you're going to send them to market. It's not that the Suffolk itself is terminal. It's the lambs produced from him that are terminal on a maternal breed. However, that does not mean that because you crossed your sheep with a terminal breed that you have to send your lambs to market, or that they're no good as breeding stock anymore because they're end-of-the-road sheep. Far from it. In fact, if you're a maternal breeder and you're not keeping back any of those heavier ewe lambs, I would wonder why you're not, because people are under the false assumption that a terminal breed is not a good mother, and they are fantastic mothers. And the proof of that is you wouldn't have a lamb like this. This is Lambert. He's a cross. His mom is a maternal breed, and his dad is a terminal. And he's huge, and he's a triplet. And he got that growth from his dad. So in order for a mother to produce a lamb that grows extremely quickly with a lot of muscle and a lot of weight on it, she has to be a good mom, because these sheep do not grow on air. They grow for the first 50 days or more on mom's milk. So you have to have a really good mom to raise twin lambs or triplets that grow up to be a Lambert size, or any of these Suffolk sizes. These are heavy sheep, so really good mothers. So another thing is, everybody, I don't know how often people say, Sandy says this and Sandy does that, and Sandy, everyone knows who Sandy is because she's the biggest farming YouTube video person there is right now. I think she's at 1 million views. Like, it's amazing, just amazing. But Sandy and I are both from Canada. We both raise sheep, And that's where the similarities between the two of us end. She is breeding for multiples, and she is breeding year-round, basically, and her lambs are destined for market. That's her whole goal. Our whole goal is to produce breeding stock. Sending them to market is what we do with the leftovers or the ones that don't make the grade. They are not our goal. Our goal is to produce well-developed, sound, fast-growing, muscular sheep to sell on to other breeders as breeding stock, as flock sires. And a flock sire is the ram that is in charge of your ewes, kind of. So he's the one you're keeping. You're not sending him to market. You're going to keep him around for quite a few years. He is your flock sire. He's the one that's influencing your flock. And of course, you can have many flock sires like we do, but that's what a flock sire is. Some people were confused what a flock sire was. Sandy's producing. Yeah, you often see her with quads, quints, sextuplets. Like, she has a lot of them. And I know she has a few terminal rams as well. I honestly don't watch her enough to know what she does with all her sheep. Like, I'm too busy to be watching YouTube all the time and making my own YouTube videos. But I've seen occasional things, so I'm not sure. But someone told me that she said terminal breeds meant the lambs went to market. So when she uses, I think she has some Suffolk rams in there, and I don't know what else she has. But when she sends her Suffolk bred ewes to market, she's sending them to market as, those are terminal lambs. She wants to get more money for the higher weight gain and muscling that those lambs will provide her. And I'm guessing, I don't know if she keeps back any as replacement ewe lambs. If I were talking to her, I would highly suggest that she did, because those Suffolk cross ewe moms are fantastic mothers and will produce much more muscular lambs in the F2 cross, even F3. That cross is really, really nice, and that terminal muscular growth rate seems to carry on for quite a few generations. So, and they are good moms. So if your whole goal is meat, I don't know why you wouldn't have a lot of those crosses in your flock. But likewise, I do believe she's also she's using Rideau rams, which are a maternal breed. They have no meat whatsoever. Like, they produce lots and lots of lambs. So anyone who has Rideaus usually always gets a terminal breed in to get the meat in there. And when you add that terminal breed, it will also bring your lambing ratio down a little bit. Now, Suffolks are up around 2, which for us, in our opinion, is the ideal number to have, because guess what? We don't have any work to do. The mom's going to raise them all on her own, and you're going to get those superior lambs. But a lot of people are taking those Rideaus and using a Rideau ram on them and getting those quads and above and shipping those to market as well. So are you going to call that a terminal lamb because it's going to market? No, it's not a terminal lamb. It's a maternal lamb you're sending to market. So you're going to base your money making on how many lambs you can get to market. You're not thinking about the weight. You're gonna try get as many as you can. That's the only reason I can think that you would use a Rideau ram as a sire. And I know lots of people will be upset with me by that, but that is the truth. But you could use a Rideau ram like on a Suffolk ewe, and her lambs, her F1s. When you bred her back to a Suffolk, I would breed it back to a Suffolk. I wouldn't dilute it anymore with a Rito. But those F1s, F1 means it's the first cross. They're more likely to produce more triplets because you've added that Rito influence in there. But because you have a heavy Suffolk influence, you're also going to maintain the meat. So it's always mixing and matching your rams and your ewes and your goals to do what suits you best. But plenty of people send maternal lambs to market because they're basically not selling breeding stock, so everything goes to market except for the odd replacement ewe lamb that they'll keep back. So terminal is kind of a term that was used to kind of describe the meatier breeds of sheep like Suffolks, Charolais, Ile-de-France, the Australian Dorsets and breeds like that, because it kind of just lets you know that if you put these breeds on your maternal ewes, all those lambs are going to be superior at market for you because they're going to give you more meat, and that is the goal for market lambs. But it doesn't mean that they're useless or that you have to send them to market. It means that those will be the best lambs you can get for market. Likewise, if you have a maternal breed, it doesn't mean that you can only use them as ewes and the rams have no use. You could, like I said, breed the maternal ram onto a meat breed to increase their lambing percentage. And with our Dorsets, the Dorset Rito cross is very common in Canada because they match nicely together. They're similar size. Dorsets have a much lower lambing percentage, so it will stop those quints and sextuplets and stuff, and it'll bring you down to a more manageable amount of sheep to look after, for one thing. It will give you a higher quality lamb for another, because those little tiny ones, I don't care what anyone says, they do not grow on to be the sheep that a twin or a triplet or a single will grow on to be. It would have to be like a miraculous one. It would not be the norm. Not to mention the massive amounts of human energy and money and time that you have to put into those multiples, raising them yourself, because mom can't do that. So that's a common thing. But maternal sheep can go to market, and they go to market all the time. So I don't know if I got that across, the difference between maternal and terminal. It's just a terminology to basically describe the lambs that will do best for you at market, which are terminal sired lambs. But any type of sheep can go to market. Any type of sheep can be held back as breeding stock. All sheep are good moms, or they wouldn't be around. Suffolks have been around for hundreds and hundreds of years and are still the #1 breed in the world. And there's a reason for that. They're good moms. They're good producers. They're good market lambs. They are a good cross on any breed. That's why they're here. And with our sheep, if you've been watching us over the years, we've been slowly removing the Rito influence from our flock. In fact, I think Matthew got pretty well the last of them. There might be some in the fall lamb group, actually. It's left over. But we've been breeding them up and up to be more Dorset. And then very recently, we also injected the Australian and New Zealand bloodlines into the Dorsets to see how we would like that, and we much prefer it. I'm always going to search for that type of Dorset in the future. It's more practical. As much as you may not like it, having sheep is a meat industry nowadays. And it's about producing fast-growing muscular sheep. I'm lucky because I'm in the breeding stock business, so I avoid a lot of having to send them to market. But I'm here to raise good quality muscular sheep so that others can send them to market. And if you look at our lamb crop this year, our Suffolk and Dorset lambs, which are now heavily Australian, New Zealand genetics, you should be able to tell between the lambs nowadays and the lambs in the past that our Dorsets look very, very similar in size and width and depth to our Suffolk lambs. So that our flock overall is looking quite consistent regardless of what breed it is, because we have changed the genetics to the point where those terminal traits are very evident in our sheep, and that's our goal. We want to have these heavy, fast-growing sheep, and the Dorsets this year have pretty well, the majority of them have been able to stand up with the Suffolks as far as growth rates and being muscular. They're still a little lighter, but they've really improved, and by improved I talk about terminal traits, which is what we're looking for. Now, I do have to admit, with the terminal breeds, you have to be careful that when you select your replacement ewe lambs, that you are selecting them from good mothers. Because in the meat industry, because the focus is so heavily on meat, even with cows, beef cows, it can sometimes get to the point where they are more concerned with eating the mums, like the mums eating food, than looking after their babies. And they lose their mothering instincts. We found that with a few of our British ewes. And as you'll see, also in our flock, we keep a British influence here because they are by far the more muscular of the Suffolks. However, they have been bred so heavily for muscling that we found that if we were going to have a bad mother, it would be one of those. So, without going through all their bloodlines and figuring out who's the good moms and to keep and who's not, it's very simple to do that. You don't have to go pouring through your records or have a computer program tell you which are the good performing moms. All you need to do is pick the best lambs out of your lamb crop. The lambs that have grown the best, the fastest, have the best conformation, are bright-eyed, lively. Those lambs speak for their mothers because they wouldn't be that way if they had a poor mom who wasn't feeding them. They will go downhill quickly. And I have an example of one of those. I found her the other day when we were scanning the sheep, and now she's in the group. I won't be able to pick her out. But I have a ewe in there who I marked her lamb as a keeper when she was born, because she was from one of our good lines, and the lamb looked really nice, beautiful ewe lamb, and I thought, okay, I do write little notes when they're born just to see how they develop. And when she came through the chute, that little lamb, she was a really poor little lamb. That tells me, since the lamb wasn't sick, if the lamb had gotten sick, then it doesn't count. But the lamb had never gotten sick, but the lamb was not keeper quality anymore. That tells me mom's having issues. Mom either wasn't looking after her properly, or mom wasn't producing enough milk. Something was wrong with mom. So in order not to propagate that problem, you would not keep those lambs. Those would be the ones that you do send off to market. And that way you don't have to be searching your records and making it very difficult. because your best lambs are always from the best moms. Okay, I'm in with the Suffolk adults right now. The big boys, the terminal rams, and the flock sires. So we got both those names right here. Flock sires means these are, some of them are for sale, but they will be for sale as flock sires to someone else. And flock sires, if you recall, are the rams that we use ourselves as breeders. These are the ones we've selected for ourselves for the traits that we think we want to pass on to our ewes and our lambs. This is the terminal breed, the Suffolks. This is the Suffolk pen now. The Dorsets aren't in with them anymore. And doesn't mean that they should all go for meat. If you're in breeding stock and you're breeding the terminal sheep, obviously you have to keep them, so you're not going to be destroying them all. And just keep in mind that terminal means that they're going to create the optimal lamb for sending to market with all the traits you want for a market lamb. Does not mean you have to send it to market. It means if you want to send the best type of lamb, this is the sheep to use. A terminal breed. Doesn't have to be Suffolk. It can be any terminal breed. And you can research which breeds are terminal. And that's what terminal means. Terminal means end of the line if you want ideal market lamb. It does not mean you have to do that. It does not mean you cannot send maternal ewe lambs or ram lambs to market. You can, because obviously you can't keep everything. So I don't know. I haven't listened to myself, and I know that I've been rambling a lot. So I'm guessing this video has gone on really long, and I might have made things even muddier than it was before. I don't know. But hopefully I cleared it up. So it's an extremely hot day, and my dad wanted us to go visit him in Ottawa. So I think we're going to head there this afternoon. I hope I made things a little bit clearer about the differences between terminal and maternal and flock sire and stuff like that. And if you still have questions, be sure to ask in the comments, and I will do my best to answer. So until next time, bye for now.